When you wake up without a destination, life will decide for you. And life doesn't choose greatness by accident. It doesn't hand you purpose, success, or clarity just because you want it. If you don't define where you're going, you drift. And when you drift, you settle for anything that shows up. That's why so many people feel stuck, not because they don't have potential, not because they're not talented, but because they never stopped long enough to say, "This is where I'm headed. This is the life I'm building. This is the standard I'm living by." If you don't set the target, you can't hit it. You can't improve what you haven't identified. Progress demands precision. Most people mistake movement for progress. They stay busy, they stay active, they stay tired, but they're not advancing. They're not getting closer to anything because they never decided what closer even means. You can run fast in the wrong direction. You can work hard on the wrong thing. And you can spend years climbing a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. That's what happens when you don't define your destination. You wake up one day wondering where your life went, how you wasted so much time, how you let years pass without purpose guiding them. You cannot become who you're meant to be on accident. You don't stumble into meaningful progress. You choose it. And you choose it by deciding exactly where you're going. You must get crystal clear, not vague, not someday, not maybe, not I'll figure it out. No clarity that forces you to move different, clarity that makes you uncomfortable, clarity that separates you from who you were yesterday. When you define the destination, you give yourself a reason to wake up with intention. You give yourself a standard that pulls you forward. You give yourself something that your emotions can't take away from you. Because once you see where you're going, you walk differently, you talk differently, you think differently. You don't have time for distractions when your vision is sharp. You don't entertain excuses when your purpose is clear. You stop negotiating with fear, procrastination, and self-doubt because you know exactly what's on the line. But here's the truth most people avoid. Defining your destination requires honesty, and honesty is uncomfortable. You have to admit where you are. You have to admit where you've fallen short. You have to admit that the life you want won't come from the life you've been living. But that honesty is the doorway. That's where transformation begins. Because once you're real with yourself, you can finally build something real. Purpose starts the moment you stop running from the truth. When you set your destination, suddenly the excuses lose power. The fear loses volume, the distractions lose value. You start choosing what aligns with the future you want, not the comfort you've been settling for. And this is the moment where progress begins, not when everything is perfect, not when you feel motivated, not when life becomes easier, but when you say, with full conviction, "This is where I'm going." That decision alone separates dreamers from doers. It separates wishful thinking from intentional living. It separates activity from progress. Once you define your destination, every step has meaning. Every struggle has purpose. Every setback has direction. You're no longer wandering. You're walking with vision. You don't have to know every detail right now. You don't need the entire blueprint. But you must decide the direction. You must choose the outcome. You must claim the future before you can chase it. Life can't reward you for goals you never set. It can't open doors to places you never intended to go. Progress requires a target, and greatness requires you to pick that target today. Because if you don't define your destination, life will define it for you, and life will always choose average unless you choose something greater. Energy is powerful, but without direction it burns out fast. Some of you have fire inside you, you've got passion, you've got this hunger to do more, be more, become more, but every time you try to move forward, you feel stuck. Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, not because you don't want it. You feel stuck because the energy you're carrying has nowhere to go. Passion without a plan is like lightning with no conductor, bright for a moment, loud for a moment, then gone just as fast. You're not struggling because you don't have power. You're struggling because that power has no path. A plan turns your energy into impact. A plan is what takes your potential and gives it shape. It's what makes your effort count. You can work hard every day and still stay in the same place if you're not working towards something specific. You can sweat and grind and push, but if it's all scattered, it will never add up. A plan gathers all your strength, all your focus, all your intention, and channels it in the same direction. That's when motion becomes momentum. That's when momentum becomes progress. That's when progress becomes transformation. People think discipline is hard, but being lost is harder. Waking up with no structure is harder. Living each day reacting instead of creating is harder. When you don't have a plan, everything feels urgent, everything feels overwhelming, everything feels heavy. But the moment you write down exactly what needs to be done, exactly how you're going to do it, and exactly when it needs to happen, you take control back. You stop letting the day run you, you run the day, you stop getting pulled by emotions, you move based on intention. A plan is the difference between running around and running your life, and don't confuse a plan with perfection. A plan is not supposed to be flawless. A plan is not supposed to make you feel comfortable. A plan is supposed to give your actions direction. Even a simple plan is better than none. Even an imperfect plan gets you further than endless guessing. You refine it as you move, you adjust as you grow, you correct as you learn, but you must start with something. Because without a plan, you're relying on luck, and luck is not a strategy. When you make a plan, you don't just write tasks, you create accountability. You turn your goals into commitments, you remove the guesswork and replace it with clarity, and clarity is powerful. Clarity makes you dangerous to every excuse you've been living with. It makes you confront the truth, whether you're moving because you're ready or staying because you're comfortable. A plan forces you to show up even when you don't feel like it. It forces you to measure your effort, not your emotions. It forces you to take responsibility for every step. The moment you sit down and create a plan, you are telling your future self, I'm serious about you, I'm investing in you, I'm building for you. That kind of intention changes how you move. It changes how you talk. It changes how you choose your habits, your people, your priorities. A plan sharpens your focus. It eliminates the noise. It gives your energy a direction strong enough to break through the walls that used to stop you. And here's the part most people underestimate. The plan builds belief. When you see the path in front of you, even if it's long, even if it's hard, you start to believe you can walk it. Progress becomes possible in your mind before it ever becomes visible in your life. And once your mind believes, your body follows. Your actions follow, your discipline follows. You go from hoping to executing. You go from trying to becoming. Energy is good, passion is good, drive is good, but without a plan, none of it will carry you to the future you say you want. A plan takes your power and gives it purpose, and purpose is what builds progress. People talk about motivation like it's everything. They wait for it, they chase it, they depend on it, but motivation is temporary, it's emotional. It rises, it falls, it fades. You cannot build a meaningful life on something that disappears the moment you get tired, stressed, disappointed, or discouraged. Consistency is what carries you when motivation walks out. Consistency is what keeps you moving when the excitement is gone. Consistency is the quiet force behind every breakthrough, every achievement, every success story you admire. It may not feel glamorous, but it's the engine that never stops working. You need a plan because a plan creates structure, and structure is what your consistency attaches itself to. When you know exactly what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it, you give yourself something solid to stand on. That's how you build discipline, by doing the work whether or not the feeling is there. Feelings cannot be trusted because they change with the weather, with your mood, with the people around you. But consistency changes your character. It shapes your habits. It builds patterns in your life that start producing results even when you're not looking. Most people lose because they only show up when they're inspired. They only push when someone's watching. They only commit when the environment is perfect. But success doesn't come from the days when everything feels easy. Success comes from the days when your mind is tired, your body is heavy, your schedule is full, and you still show up and do the work. Those are the days that define you. Those are the days that separate the ones who talk from the ones who execute. Consistency turns your plan into action, and action into progress, and progress into results. There are going to be mornings when everything in you says, "Not today." Mornings when you wake up and the dream feels too far, the work feels too heavy, and the journey feels too long. That's why a plan matters. The plan doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're frustrated. It tells you what needs to be done. It becomes your anchor when your emotions try to pull you in 100 different directions. And the more you honor that plan, the more you begin to trust yourself. You start to build a reputation with the most important person in your life, *U*. You prove to yourself that you're dependable, disciplined, and driven even when it's inconvenient. And when you start stacking those consistent days, day after day, week after week, something powerful happens. You start seeing progress, not dramatic overnight change, but slow, steady, undeniable growth. Growth that builds confidence. Growth that builds momentum. Growth that makes you realize you're capable of far more than you once believed. And that momentum is everything. It's what carries you into new levels. It's what pushes you past your old limits. It's what builds the mental toughness that separates you from who you used to be. Consistency also protects you from quitting too early, because when you show up every day, you're constantly reminded of how far you've come. Even if the results aren't massive yet, you can feel the shift. You can sense the improvement. You can see the difference in your mindset, your habits, your discipline. That small progress fuels you more than any motivational video or speech ever could. It's real, it's earned, and it belongs to you. Understand this. You don't get stronger because you felt strong. You get stronger because you kept showing up even when you didn't. You don't reach your goals because you were inspired every day. You reach them because you stayed committed every day. You don't rise to the height of your dreams. You rise to the level of your consistency. Consistent action beats inspiration every single time. Your plan is more than words on paper. It's not a to-do list. It's not a collection of goals you hope to hit someday. Your plan is a promise to your future self. And let me tell you something. Your future self is counting on you. Every choice you make today, every action you take, every hour you invest is either keeping that promise or breaking it. You cannot progress without accountability, and the only way to hold yourself accountable is to plan intentionally. Because a plan without action is just dreaming, and dreams don't build legacies. Execution builds legacies. Discipline builds legacies. Your plan is the bridge between where you are now and the life you claim you want. Most people never think about their future selves. They live like there's unlimited time. They make excuses like the clock will always be on their side. But let me remind you, time does not wait. Your future self doesn't care about your comfort. Your future self doesn't care about your fear. your doubt, or your procrastination. Your future self depends on what you decide to do today, and when you create a plan and stick to it, you are telling yourself, I see you, I'm committed to you, I'm building for you. That is powerful, that is transformative, that is the difference between someone who drifts through life and someone who commands it. A plan gives your actions meaning. Without a plan, effort is wasted. Without a plan, sacrifice is meaningless. Without a plan, you are at the mercy of chance and circumstance. But when you plan with purpose, you move with power. Every step becomes intentional. Every decision becomes strategic. Every struggle becomes a stepping stone, because you can see how it fits into the bigger picture. Your plan gives you context for your sacrifice and clarity for your struggle, and clarity is everything. Clarity prevents you from quitting when it's hard, because you see the reward waiting for you at the end of the process. Here's the hard truth. No plan means no progress. That's not a motivational quote. It's reality. You cannot progress by accident. You cannot get results by hoping. You cannot achieve breakthroughs without design. You must think ahead. You must outline the steps. You must hold yourself to the standard of your own future expectations. This is where the difference between ordinary and extraordinary lies. Ordinary people wait for life to happen. Extraordinary people make life happen. Extraordinary people design the life they want, and then they execute relentlessly. Your plan is your blueprint for extraordinary. And listen, the plan doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be fully mapped out to the last detail. The plan needs to exist, and it needs to guide you. It gives you direction when life gets chaotic. It gives you a reason to push when you want to quit. It gives you proof that you are serious about your own growth. Even a simple, imperfect plan is better than no plan at all. Because when you start acting on your plan, you start building confidence in yourself. You start proving to yourself that you can take control of your life. You start creating momentum that carries you further than you imagined. And here's the final truth that most people avoid. Your plan is not just about you. It's about the person you are becoming. The discipline you develop, the habits you build, the focus you cultivate, they all shape who you will be tomorrow. Your plan molds your character. It strengthens your resolve. It forces you to rise above excuses, distractions, and limitations. By keeping the promise to your future self, you are becoming the person that your future needs you to be. Because when you fail to plan, you leave your future to chance. And chance rarely favors the committed. But when you create a plan and follow through, you honor the person you are destined to become. You show up for yourself when no one else will. You turn intention into action, action into progress, and progress into greatness. No plan means no progress. But a plan kept is a promise fulfilled.